Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Open Up show. Today we have an amazing guest, human being, to share her life story with us. Before that, I just want to share some details about our organization. My name is Sivam Velautham, and I am the founder and president at Voiceomen 360. Voiceomen 360 has been serving probably in the past 3 4 years, and we are focusing the well-being of boys and men. We are part of International Men's Day. International Men's Day has been serving for more than 25 years around 95 countries, though. Being said that, I want to start with one. Today's topic is going to be heavy topic, but I want to acknowledge one thing here: all the lives that we lost so far in the matter of men's rights and the families they suffered. Our prayers and thoughts are with you. Having said that, we also want to recognize all the activists and all the efforts, everyone going through this journey. We also want to acknowledge this. I'm I do have a lot of questions to this beautiful woman. And before that, I would like to share our disclaimer. We would like to remind you that Voice of Men 360's mission is always delivered with good faith toward peaceful harmony. The views and opinions expressed in today's episode are those of our speakers and do not represent Voice of Men 360. Our organization engages in discussion forums to offer inspiration and create awareness of the issues of men who wish to overcome their life challenges. We are not providing medical or therapeutic advice. Should you require that type of assistance, we recommend you contact a medical professional immediately. If you have any questions or concerns about today's episode or any Voiceman 360 content, please email us at info@voiceman360.org. Today's guest is Deepika Narayan Bhardwaj, documentary filmmaker, independent journalist, men's rights activist, founder of Ekam Nyaay Foundation. She has her own YouTube channel and spoke to a lot of people over there. A documentary film on misuse of IPC 498A that received a global release on Netflix from 2018 to 2020. India's Sons, Tale of False Rape Case Survivors, a documentary film about lives that got scared forever due to false rape accusations. Trailer, of course, and the full documentary, I'm going to post it on our social media. You can see it. And an article was written by her on BBC Global in 2017, The Woman Who Fights for Men's Rights. There are other YouTube videos. I'm going to put it later on, and even you can access her email address and other contact information later on. But I want to welcome Deepika.
Hi, hello, good evening, good morning, and good afternoon to everyone watching us from various parts of the world. Thank you for having me on your platform, Sivam, and pleased to be here.
Thank you, thank you. It is great to have, and then of course a lot of people is going to be watching, and then also have so many questions. But having said that, it's going to be a little bit a heavy topic, and also we want to recognize the loss of lives, and also the people are going through suffering, mental trauma, and everything. I want to start, Deepika. How did you start? Why do you want to start working on men's rights, the journalism, things like that? Please share.
So, Sivam, I started working on men's issues in 2012. My family went through a very, very difficult and tough ordeal. Until 2011, I can confidently say that I used to think and believe that only women suffer at the hands of men, and I had no idea that there are women who are doing extreme wrong to men, and there are gender biased laws which are extremely anti men or against men. In 2011, after going through our personal experience in which we faced the threats of false dowry cases, we faced demand of a humongous amount of money in order to not sort of file this false dowry case on us. And that's when I started researching on what IPC 498A is. And to my surprise, I got I got in front of me, there's a new world, completely new world that opened up, where I saw how thousands of men have died by suicide because of being implicated in false dowry cases. There have been mass suicides where the entire families chose to kill themselves when they were falsely implicated in a rape case. I'm sorry, falsely implicated in a dowry case, and so on and so forth. Extremely traumatic stories, extremely disturbing stories of how the system is completely blind and these people were not heard. And since I was seeing it happening live in front of me, I could understand and empathize more. Since I come from a journalism background, I'm a software engineer. I did my BTech in software engineering, information technology, and then I did my postgrad diploma in TV journalism. I was working as a journalist and a correspondent when all of this happened with us. And but at that time, I did not think of becoming an activist or anything like that. After I started researching, the one thing that occurred to me was that is there any film, is there any documentary? Because films have an impact on a very wide audience. So I thought, has anybody made a documentary on misuse of IPC 498A, because it's such a burning issue and it's costing lives? But to my surprise, no film had been made until then. At least I did not come across anything very substantial. And as a journalism student, and documentary films, I believe, are a very, very powerful medium to spread a message in the society, or real life storytelling. I decided that I'm going to make a documentary film. It also coincided with the fact that I was doing a course at that time, which is a life altering course. And because we were dealing with so much of trauma, so I attended this course called Landmark Foundation, and my family also did that. And as a part of that course, at the third stage of it, which is, there's a program called Self Expression and Leadership Program, where you have to go out to the society and actually in real life implement all your learnings and techniques, and do community projects to basically impact and help other people from all the learnings that you've got from this course. And that's when I decided that my community project is going to be a documentary film on IPC 498A. I was working at that time for good some time. I tried to manage both working on this documentary and my job, but eventually I decided that I'll have to quit my job in order to make this effort really successful. And I told my boss that, sir, give me 1 year. I will make this documentary, release it to the masses, and then come back and join you again. But it was 2012, and today is 2024. I never went back to doing anything else but working on men's issues and telling these stories every single day for the last 12 years.
Thank you for sharing, Deepika. It's a long journey. Everything happening for a reason, right? And also, I want to acknowledge your efforts and also the mindset behind that, because you should have a mindset to take it to the next level, whatever you come across, right? Experience, because it doesn't matter how many people are watching or how many people are attending an event or program or anything. At least one person take to the next level in such a way, right?
Yeah.
Today, looking back, how many lives, how many cases, how many stories, how many experiences you have been through, right? It's a quite amazing story. Thank you for sharing, actually, though. Whoever is watching over out there, so it is a role model at the same time that it's a expression, impression, or influence or inspiration for some people. They can do something, right? I really appreciate that. What I want to ask you is that can you identify some of the men's problem in India? It doesn't matter which part of the India, but generally speaking, what are some of the issues that they are facing? Please.
While there are definitely a lot of cases or a lot of issues that impact men, my work has predominantly focused on false accusations in men and the uh, suffering of men due to gender biased provisions. My work particularly revolves around this. But in order to sum up, or in order to sort of quantify what all issues are there. To begin with, the laws predominantly. The laws are extremely biased in our country. Our provisions related to cruelty within marriage, which is IPC 498A, is there only for women. Our provisions to address domestic violence or provide recourse to victims of domestic violence happens to be only for women. um, all the provisions related to sexual offenses, whether that is outraging modesty or stalking or molestation or sexual harassment at workplace, rape, uh, attempt to rape, all of these provisions exist only for women. So men cannot complain under these provisions, even if they are victims of such an offense. And no parallel other provision also exists in the Indian Penal Code, which has now been changed to Bharatiya Nyaay Sanhita. And so, even if a man is a victim under any of these crimes, he cannot complain to the authorities. Apart from that, in matrimonial litigation per se, predominantly the courts and the system are very heavily, biased in the favor of women because they think that the man must have done something wrong. Apart from that, there are I would say, in fact, not negligible. There are no systems in place basically to look into the issues that men are facing. While the country has a ministry for women and children, while the country has a commission for women, at not just the national level, but at each and every state level, there is no such commission to look into men's issues. We do not have any comprehensive researchers by any of our ministries that look after the what is happening with men. There are hundreds of cases where men are dying because of being subjected to violence within homes, when men are taking their lives because of being subjected to sexual abuse within homes. There are hundreds and thousands of cases where men are being murdered by the spouse. They do not form any statistics or data in the country per se. Even at the organizational levels in the corporates, like I said, the sexual harassment at workplace offense remains to be recognized only against women and not men. There are now discriminations happening at the level of corporates where um, the entire reservation is being done for women. To just give you an example, I have been helping few people reach the apex court, the Supreme Court. These are nursing students. So now one of the most prominent hospital, a government hospital in India, which is called All India Institute of Medical Sciences, AIMS, uh, they have proper intake mechanism where they are taking 80% only women and only 20% of men for nursing. And this circular was just passed without any research per se, or without any formidable need behind it, while the number of institutes and colleges are still teaching male nursing staff, but now they are skewing the intake, or the giving the job itself on the basis of gender. There are endless organizations which are doing only and only female drives, and men, even if they're eligible, they don't get there or apply there. There are differences that are being brought to in the system on merits also, while women are, even if they have lesser marks, they scale more than the man in terms of merits. So that is also there. Occupationally, there are no organizations that are working on um, looking after the well-being of men who are in extremely hazardous jobs. So it's whatever they are, tough circumstances and situations they're going through. Nobody cares. There are a lot of very very tough occupations in which only men are involved, and they do not have protective gears, they do not have safety gears, but nobody is talking about that. There are extreme situations in which men are there in the prisons. There are a lot of under trial men who go through extreme situations in the prisons, but there's no one who is talking about that. There is absolute inhuman experience behind bars, even if the person is innocent. I have spoken to people who have told me situations and tales like the place they were staying, the cell they were staying. The capacity of that was, I think, 30 or 40 people, but it had 300 people. They were literally sleeping over on top of each other. Even in jails, while various benefits or various things from health point of view are looked out for women, although there are protocols that it should be looked in for men as well, but then the system essentially doesn't care. So these are some of the issues. There are extremely biased provisions for alimony and maintenance as well. It has taken a long time for Supreme Court to actually come up with a certain kind of a format in which both the parties have to apply affidavits, but still there are a lot of cases in which the guy has to pay. There have been official statements made by the apex court of India where they say beg, borrow, or steal, but you have to pay maintenance to your wife. There are cases where, beyond doubt, the woman is adulterous, but the courts have said that one instance of cheating or one instance of the woman having sex outside of marriage doesn't really disentitle her to maintenance. So I personally know of several cases where men are being asked to pay money to their wives who are essentially living with, I mean, not publicly, but they are involved with some other man, and she's going on with very smoothly with her affair outside of marriage, and is having a good time while pretending to be a victim in front of the court and taking money. Uh, Last but not the least, and an extremely important and very painful issue that thousands and probably lakhs of men are facing in India is parental alienation. They are being deprived of their kids while they're asked to pay maintenance and money, but they don't get to even see their children. Just in the last 2 3 days, repeatedly, I've spoken to fathers who are not able to see their kids while they are being asked to pay money as maintenance, and they are helpless. They feel dejected. They feel extremely hopeless from the way system is working. Women are unabashedly saying that do whatever you can, but you will not get to see your child. And you can get orders from the court. I will not honor them. And this is the strength that the laws are giving to women. And there are just so many cases where men are falsely accused, and the women are let go, even if it is found out that the woman filed an absolutely false case.
I think for the viewers and everyone, not only male or men outside, but also women and the family, everything for everyone, even government officials or community organizations. It's kind of like a wake up call. In the last number of years, it's being when we see at the statistics on suicide rate among men around the world, it's 78 to 80%. So there are so many reasons, so many traumas, so many mental health crises going on behind the scene. So I don't know, or we don't know, like how many people are taking seriously or talking about that openly nowadays, right? Even though we have YouTube channels or TED talks and things like that, but it is not some people or most of the people, they are not getting the messages though. And on the other hand, Deepika, what are the issues or the problems that you are saying is not really new, or it's not a different. There's no difference here in Canada or any other part of the world. It's mostly, I would say, 95 to 98% are same everywhere. Even the labor market, you take it anywhere you go, it's the same thing happening, right? Um, of course, there are more researchers, more statics that we need to do. So that's where we can do something about it. Otherwise, to back up, right?
Yep.
What I want to ask is that the documentary that you made, if you can explain, go a little bit deeper, because to understand the other side of the story, and maybe whoever is on the documentary or journalism, maybe they can open their eyes and then they can do more work on that. But we, you already did some works. At least they can build on that, right? Can you
Yep.
share more? Yeah, please.
So, just a second, sorry.
Yeah.
I'll combine the question and uh, share about both of my documentaries. So, like I said, in 2012, I decided to make a documentary on False 498A. So the law, which is IPC 498A, talks about physical or mental cruelty to a married woman to the extent that it drives her to commit suicide or cause grave danger to her life, limb, or health. And this physical or mental cruelty is essentially subjected because of demand of dowry. Now, for international audience, I am not too sure if they know about dowry or not, but dowry started as an exchange of gifts from the bride side to the groom side and the groom side to the bride side. But there was a dowry prohibition offense law passed in 1961 in India because this mutual exchange of gifts, this mutual exchange of items or necessary household things took a very, very dangerous path where the women were subjected to extreme form of violence because of demands by the groom side. So in 1980s, in 19, late 1970s, suddenly India started seeing a lot of deaths within the homes of women, of wives, where suddenly a stove would burst and the woman would die, and or the woman would just be found dead, and it would be people would try to pass it off as a suicide when it was not, and basically a lot of violence on women for humongous demands of dowry. And then that's when in 1961 dowry prohibition, like I said, law was passed, but this law was neutral. It basically penalized or set to penalize both the give and take of dowry. So it said that neither no not nobody should demand dowry, at the same time nobody should give dowry. So but then the law was absolutely toothless. Nobody stopped taking dowry, nobody stopped giving dowry. If I may say, it actually stays the remains the same till date. There are humongous amounts of money and expensive articles and cars and houses and properties and whatnot exchanged during weddings, and some a lot of people happily do it. A lot of people do make demands. But in 1983, eventually, there was a law that was brought in, which was called 498A, basically, to, sort of to deter such kind of violence on women and provide recourse to them. But unfortunately, what started happening very soon, this law was very stringent. It was non bailable. That means the police can immediately arrest you without a warrant, cognizable that the police must take the complaint, and non bailable, cognizable, and non compoundable, as in, there cannot be any compromise. So soon after, whatever be the differences between the husband and wife, whatever be the reason for the marriage breaking down, it could be incompatibility, it could be because the woman doesn't want to stay with her in-laws, it could be somebody cheating on the other, either the husband cheating on the wife or the wife cheating on the husband. Uh, a lot of different reasons started coming where the issue was not dowry, issue was not violence, but it was a marriage breaking down, and the man would invariably be implicated in a false dowry charge. Not just that, the law basically allows a wife to file this case not only on the husband but his entire family. And this family essentially meant people who are staying under the same roof, basically, who are perpetrating this violence or allegedly perpetrating this violence. But it then came to be distorted, where everybody in the extended family of the husband started getting implicated. The sisters, the sister who's already married and living somewhere else, their names would also be written. The names of the uh, uh, husband of these sisters would also be written, the names of all kind of uncles or aunts. There have been cases where even 2 month old kids, 5 6 year old kids have been mentioned in such dowry complaints. And it just went completely bizarre. Uh, so the documentary basically brings out real life stories of people who were falsely accused of the charge of IPC 498A, stories of people who died by suicide because of the harassment and torture by the side of the bride due to false cases. It released in 2016. We traveled across 22 cities in India, showcasing the documentary for free. We traveled to 3 countries. My documentary was screened at International Men's Conference in Australia in 2017, and there was 200 people from across the world who came and watched it and gave it a standing ovation. And So the doc in 2018, Netflix picked up Martyrs of Marriage for a global release for 2 years, and after that, it was then put out on YouTube. So people can watch the documentary on YouTube on my channel. There's a very huge channel on YouTube called Free Documentary. So in case you're not for some reason able to access it on my channel, you can watch Martyrs of Marriage on Free Documentary channel as well. It holds global documentaries from across the world. After that, after Martyrs of Marriage was done, actually during making Martyrs of Marriage, a lot of people started coming to me with claiming that they have been falsely accused in rape case. What sort of happened in 1983 with regards to matrimonial cruelty, with a very stringent law like 498A being passed? In 2012, India saw the most horrific case of gang rape in Delhi, which I think a lot of people abroad also have heard about, where a woman was gang raped by 4 to 5 men in the middle of the night, and her body thrown away, along with that of her boyfriend, who somehow survived. That led to extreme outrage across the country. There were people on the streets. There were demands to revamp the rape laws and revamp other laws meant to protect women from violence, because they were not being effective. So the rape laws were amended in 2013, and the same thing that happened with 498 is now happening with the rape laws. People are misusing it to settle any kind of score. And so, in 2000, after the Martyrs of Marriage journey got sort of completed, the a lot of people, or actually, when I was making Martyrs of Marriage, a lot of people started coming to me saying that, we are victims of false rape cases, and I did investigate some of these cases, and they were patently false. So I decided that my next project will have to be false rape cases, because rape is an extremely, extremely serious crime, and uh, nobody should be allowed to make a mockery of a heinous crime like rape. And I thought maybe making a documentary on this subject would shorten the number of years it takes for the government or for the system to wake up to gross abuse of laws. In 498A, there was an amendment in 2014, not an amendment, but Supreme Court passed guidelines prohibiting immediate arrest of husband and his family in case of 498A. That gave relief to thousands and thousands of families. It continues to provide relief to people who are falsely accused. But there are no such prohibitions, there are no such safeguards that exist in order to protect men from being arrested when they are falsely accused of rape charge. So India's Sons was made in that zest, and we are unfortunately on India's Sons did not make it to any OTT platform, but fingers crossed. I think that is going to happen very soon, and India's Sons is on lives of men who are falsely accused of rape. It includes stories where a young 18-year-old boy was had to spend 5 years in jail for a rape charge, a rape that he did not commit. He was honorably acquitted by the court, but his life has obviously almost got ruined. He was a very, very young boy. It has story of an IPS officer. It's an Indian Police Services officer, very senior Indian Police Service officer, who was falsely accused of rape by not one but two women, which was entirely a political setup. He had uh, got into a fight over some bureaucratic decisions with the then chief minister of a state, and that chief minister basically uh, sought to take this form of revenge. This IPS officer, along with his wife, who happens to be an advocate, had to spend 3 years to clear their name. It has cases where men have died by suicide because they were falsely accused of rape. It has very, very heart touching stories, and of course, it has humongous data that establishes how rape laws are being misused in the country. So these are both of these documentaries. India Sons is available on indiasons.com. Martyrs of Marriage is available on YouTube. I would encourage people to go and please check these cases out, and these stories out, which are happening. These are just 6, 7 cases that I could document in the film, of course, because it has a certain limitation of it. But these cases are happening in extremely, extremely huge numbers in India.
Absolutely. Couple of things actually, because in Asian countries, dowries are, or I would say maybe in India and Sri Lanka, some other countries, dowries be a huge things. But apart from that, beside that, there are other things or other cases or situations where, I mean, especially in Canada or USA or any other part of the country, there are so many other situations falsely men are accused, and then they have to go through so many challenges, right? Traumas, and even sometimes suicide situations, and even losing everything, right? It doesn't matter even if they get their they won the case, but they already damaged their name and reputation. Everything is damaged, right? Highly profile people, so some of them, they are already lost their identity, lives, and everything, right? And said that laws, it's our favor to women and children, across the board, right? It is very, very sad to see so many lives, or even so many cases of falsely accused, right? What I want to ask you is that there's a question, Deepika. Give me 1 second. So it's
Sivam, can
saying,
you just give me like 5 seconds? I'll just have to switch on my air conditioning, I guess. It's just getting too hot here.
yeah,
It's
go
very
ahead. Yeah,
hot.
yeah,
I forgot to, yeah, I'll just give me 2 seconds.
that's okay. That's okay. So in the meantime, Deepika Bhardwaj is a filmmaker, a documentary filmmaker actually, and men's activist from India. She has been doing a lot of works for the men's side and fighting for men's rights too. And in the meantime, there are a couple of YouTube channels and email addresses, and also some of the documentary that you can go and watch. Please watch and share on your social media, or share with other people too. Coming back to Deepika, what I was saying is that men's issues around the world, it's happening, all right, and how many of them are open to come and speak about it, that's a different story. But there's a question I want to mention. What efforts, social, political, or legal, including public awareness and legislative changes, are being undertaken by activists or anyone else to address challenges men face in India? There's our supporter asking a question. Apart from you, anyone else doing that?
Yeah, so it's a good question. On social level, there are organizations like Save Indian Family. There's organization called Sahoda Trust. There is organization called NCM, India Council for Men Affairs. There is Avision. There is Men's Forum in Bengal. There is For Men India. There are a lot of organizations that are basically working on men's issues and helping men. Uh, there are uh, there are basically organizations that have been founded by people who are doing volunteer work across the country. Save Indian Family happens to be the kind of the largest network that I particularly know so far. They run a pan India level helpline, which is a volunteer run helpline, which caters to approximately 30,000 calls every year. That's what one of their initial researchers suggested, and where people can call and take advice free of cost. Then, at a legal level, there are obviously individuals who are fighting their cases. But at the same time, there are organizations that have taken efforts to file public interest litigations, gone to the courts to basically get recourse at a larger level. There have been public interest litigation filed also for formation of a commission for men in India, which was unfortunately rejected by the Supreme Court. There is a petition that was filed for compensations for the falsely accused men. Now, these petitions are not necessarily filed by men's rights organizations alone. There are other people also who have taken up the task to basically, address social wrongs. Right now, there's an organization called Men Welfare Trust, which is in the Supreme Court as one of the main petitioners or interveners in the decision that the Supreme Court of India is going to take whether India should legalize marital rape or not. In India right now, women or who are married have various other laws in which they can take provision or address their grievance in case there is sexual abuse within the marriage. But they cannot file a charge of rape against the husband. So marital rape stays to be an exception in India, which is not there in many parts of the world. But in India, there is. So we are Men Welfare Trust and Hridaya, an organization called Hridaya that also fights for men, are fighting it out, saying, there are other provisions that can address the situation and this exception should not go. Um, there, of course, are now people who have fought their own cases, men's rights activists who have fought their own cases and become advocates and trying to help other people in fighting their battles. On a political level, there are various organizations, men's rights organizations, like I said, that do go and meet the lawmakers, parliamentarians, time to time, to tell them about issues that men are facing. There was, in fact, there have been some times where members of parliament have raised voice to look at men's issues in India. uh, my documentary Martyrs of Marriage was the terminology was used by one of the members of parliament a few years ago, where he called the men who are undergoing false allegations of dowry and who are undergoing false accusations as Shadi Ke Shaheed, which essentially is martyrs of marriage. And he spoke about how we need to talk about men's issues as well. There have been other members of parliament who have spoken about false cases and need to protect men as well, or look at men's issues in India. Far and few in between, probably not more than 4 or 5 times in the last maybe 3 decades. But yes, there are some instances where men's issues have been spoken about. Uh, Politically, unfortunately, as of now, um, men's issues are not really a part of any political agenda. Men's issues are not in cognizance or in manifestos of any political political organization, and unfortunately, largely, even when somebody has spoken about men's issues in the parliament, and I would here also would like to mention and applaud one of our members of parliament. His name is Mr. Anubhav Mohanty, a very young parliamentarian who has spoken about men's issues in the parliament, who has spoken about parental alienation, who has spoken about suicides by men and the rising number of suicides by men. But what I was saying was, unfortunately, these voices are kind of mocked in the parliament by men and women alike, who laugh at whenever anybody tries to put out the pain that men are facing. So yeah, that's pretty much the situation.
Speaking about compensation or even men's false allegations and things like that, Deepika, I just want to mention that there's a one organization in Tamil Nadu. It's called Men's Protection. When I spoke to them a couple of years back, and then the guy was saying like probably has 50 or close to 75 cases every single day filing. It can be for cases. I mean, men are filing cases though, because it can be with a relationship or anything. But what I want to ask is that going through those cases, or the time frame that we are talking about, let's say a couple of years though, but men take a men and women on the other side. Women, you know what, after sometimes they get a second marriage or third marriage or whatever it is, and then they started their new life. But on the other hand, men, they cannot, they don't. So can you elaborate? Can you give some backgrounds on that? How many years at least they had to wait, and then how can, or what's the situation scenario that how are they coming, like to be ready to get married or to start a new life though? How hard it is?
Uh, well, if you talk about matrimonial disputes, it takes years and years in India for a man to be free from a bad marriage. If the reason behind that is not just something that we can bracket into men's issues, but the reason behind that is a larger issue that is impacting every citizen of India, regardless of gender. The courts in India are absolutely flooded with cases. They are having a backlog which cannot be resolved if they continue to be on the space in the next probably 50 to 100 years. We have a pendency of more than 5 crore cases in India. And I'm not too sure how many, what million terminology or conversion would that be, but off the hand, but 5 crore is a huge number. And the cases are piling up every single day. The number of cases are increasing every single day. The number of cases are piling up every single day, and people are not getting justice. Uh, Now, while a woman can file so many cases on the husband, she can file a case of 498A, she can file cases of other criminal sections, she can file a case of molestation on the husband, she can file a case of domestic violence on the husband, she can claim maintenance under 125 CRPC, and there are three specific more sections for maintenance under which she can claim maintenance as well. So if it's a disputed litigation, if it's a it's a sort of contested matter, anything from 5 years to 25, 30 years sometimes can take for a man to get out from a bad marriage and get divorced. There are litigations that have gone on for 20 years as well. Contested divorce cases, the man must have spent his entire life just fighting a matrimonial litigation. And the woman keeps on taking money from him, even if she is not taking in the money, has not, or any maintenance or alimony has not been granted, still the guy has to continue fighting these cases for years and years, pay the court fee, pay the lawyer's fee, and things like that. For false accusations of rape, uh, from anywhere from 2.5 years to 10 years. I know a case right now. I'm helping two families in cases. I'm counseling them and I'm trying to help them in whatever way possible, who have been falsely accused of rape for the last 9 to 10 years. The matters are not moving. Sometimes the woman just doesn't come, and there are thousands and thousands of cases of false accusation of rape, false accusations of dowry, where because the woman realizes that her lies will be caught, she just doesn't turn up to the court, and even if there are then warrants issued against her, she chooses to not turn up, and the courts are very reluctant to close these cases. So litigation is very long drawn in the country. We do not have any cap on that this kind of case will can be extended or has to be resolved only in this particular time. There have been fast track courts set up to deal with sexual offenses against women, but even in those fast track courts, because the cases are just so much, they these cases are taking 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, sometimes 5, 6 more years basically to adjudicate. And even if the man is able to prove himself innocent, the woman is not necessarily punished. She is not asked to pay damages of any kinds. She is not asked to pay the litigation fee that the man may have incurred of any time, any kind. There have been pathetic initiatives by courts to punish women who file false rape cases, saying that she will have to stand in the court for 6 hours, or she will have to do community service for 2 months. It's just bizarre. There are so many cases like that, and it's rare, very rare that a woman got punished for false accusations.
It is very sad to hear all these allegations and all these traumas that people have to go through. But what I want to ask is that remember you said everybody is speaking. Seems to be everybody speaking nowadays, but there's no change or there's nothing happening. But from your based on your observation experiences in the past number of years. Did you see or have you been seeing any kind of changes in the way of handling issues? I mean, police station or even in the laws or even the eye of public, like in the awareness. Okay, but we can understand now. Okay, but before there was no social media or any other platforms to get to know, or nobody's talking. But nowadays people are talking. So Do you see some kind of changes in the public or anywhere?
Sivam, yes, I definitely do agree that do believe that there has been change. Like I said, in 2014, the Supreme Court brought guidelines to address misuse of IPC 498A. Before that, in 2005, Supreme Court also passed a landmark observation on misuse of IPC 498A, calling it legal terrorism. And I would like to credit men organizations for that, because very, very concerted efforts and very, very positive efforts were made by endless number of men, much before I started working on men's issues in 2012. And they were talking to journalists, they were trying to get articles written, they were trying to give a voice to the men who suffer. They started weekly meetings to meet, organizing meetups for these men in various cities of India. The organization that I took name of, Save Indian Family, and many more that I also may not even know about. In the 90s, late 90s, and the early 2000s, did tremendous efforts to actually, bring focus to these issues. Of course, social media has been a great leveler, I would say, and my journey when it started, obviously, social media had quite an influence, so it easy for me as well to actually take the message out. At a social level, I would say there is definitely a change. Earlier, people did not bother or even talk about this. Right now, I mean, I can confidently say that there are thousands and thousands of people who do not have any cases, who have not suffered, but who are actively, responding to these issues, to these concerns, taking initiatives to talk to people about it, sharing these things. When nobody in their family, or maybe probably they know a friend who would have suffered, but they are not personally suffering, but they have see it as an issue which is very important to be talked about. So more than ever, people are now talking about men's issues in India. Media is, I would say, not very supportive, but I would like to also say that media many a times has been extremely kind and supportive to me whenever I've gone to them with cases that I have myself, sort of been whistleblower in. For example, I've got women arrested who have filed multiple rape cases on multiple men. I call these women serial rape case filers. These are women who have filed, rape cases on different men, false rape cases on different men, not just one, not two. Some of them have filed 5 rape cases, 6 rape cases, 9 rape cases, 11 rape cases. I have got 2 women arrested. One of them had filed 9 rape cases on 9 different men within just 1 year. There's another woman who has just gone behind bars. She had filed 6 rape cases, attempted to file one more, and she is now behind bars. I was the whistleblower in both of these cases. I filed complaints with the senior most police officers, and thankfully, it is because of media that both these cases have really been talked about. So I would not say media is very, sort of actively or proactively showcasing these stories, but many people, many journalists have been very kind to me to look at these issues, and some journalists have actually written remarkable stories around these issues. So there is definitely change, but even in courts, there have been some judgments that are coming now where uh, courts are now talking in a language which they did not do earlier. I mean, in one of the cases that I did here in Gurgaon, where I live, where I got 2 people arrested for running a sextortion racket, as in the woman used to meet people through dating apps, then go and have consensual sex, but the next day she would end up crying rape against the man in order to extort money. and her she was being managed by another man who was a serial fraudster and a criminal, and I got both of these people arrested. In that case, a police officer was also involved, who was taking the kickbacks. And this police officer, lady police officer, moved the court to get relief in the FIR that she was filed against her. But while denying her bail, anticipatory bail, or any relief from arrest, the Punjab and Haryana High Court here in India passed extremely sensitive judgment on how a false accusation can completely damage the life of an individual, how it's violation of his dignity, how horrendous the consequences of a false rape accusation can be for a man, how she being a police officer should have sided with the people who are innocent instead of siding with the people who were hurling false accusations of rape. So um, remarkable judgments are now being seen at the level of courts as well. These are obviously very few judgments, but change is never very quick. At the political level, I hope someday there will be a change as well. But there's definitely larger um, change that I personally see, and maybe somebody would say that nothing has changed, but I like to remain positive. I like to remain committed that we are here to work for a change. It may not happen overnight. It will not happen overnight. It's a journey that we all have to make all possible efforts towards in order to bring change. And maybe it will not happen in our lifetime, but probably things will be a little better after we are gone. So I decide to make that effort every single day without bothering too much about whether it's creating any impact or not.
Absolutely. So the interesting thing is, one side, men are, kind of like, in a way we can put it, punished, and then on the other side, behind the scene, men are also making these rules in the hands of lawmakers or policymakers, and it's very unfortunate. But at the same time, like, what, whatever we can do it. But apart from that, without our control or whatever outside control, we cannot do, right? But speaking about the misuse of IPC 498A, and even the number of growing number of reasons for the false allegations, even the impact, Deepika, try to understand what's going on behind the scene, the mentality of women. Why is there so many cases in the nowadays? We can see even 7 or 8 years back, I was watching a video, and then there was a TED Talk presentation, and then he was presenting some of the statics, but even now it's growing, right? But so what's going on behind the scene, especially with the woman's mentality, though?
Sivam, I think the core at all of this is human greed. The core of that, it is human desire to take revenge. The core of it is the the whole idea that you do a wrong when you know that you're not going to face any consequence for it. So the reason we have criminal laws is to deter criminals from committing crimes, and then first is that to deter such a crime from happening in the first place, and second is to punish if that crime has happened. False cases are not being seen as any issue altogether. Although we do have provisions in the penal code or in the criminal procedure code in India, but rarely do we see the judges making use of it because they think that if the woman is doing it, she's anyways a victim of the social norms and mores. Why penalize her? Why punish her? And things like that. We see decent enough numbers of women committing murders, and they are punished in that. But why would you commit a crime which is so obvious, which will lead you to imprisonment and everything, when you can actually destroy someone's life by just filing a false case? So so the women have in India, I hate generalizations, so I'm not going to say that all women are doing it or all women are thinking like that. Absolutely not. But There is a decent rising population of women who are growingly thinking that they can ruin a man's reputation. They can settle the score by filing a false case. Even if they file false case, there are good chances of she succeeding in whatever the reason was behind her doing filing this false case, as compared to any repercussion she facing. So why not do it? The like I said, the greed for money. People want to take shortcuts. Men take shortcuts by doing a lot of dirty things, and women are taking doing all of these things to make a quick buck. So I would call these women fraud women, and I would call these women absolutely debased in their minds to basically think that they can do something like this with anyone. Uh, in matrimonial disputes, I mean, if I were to give one reason as the biggest reason behind doing all of this, it has to be greed, it has to be extortion, it has to be money. Without the motivation of money, um, I don't think so. A lot of people, I mean, people who don't care too much about money, or people who do not want to take a shortcut to get money by destroying somebody's life, they don't do cases like this. There are thousands of cases where the woman and the man amicably separates because they don't want to get back at each other for whatever reasons. They just want to move on in their lives. There are a lot of women who choose to not take any maintenance or any money, and you know just walk out. And there are men as well who are very very kind. Even if there's dispute, they understand their responsibilities, and there's very very amicable settlement and separation. But women who are greedy, women who are short tempered, women who are narcissists, women who have borderline personality disorder, to take care, take advantage of these laws to get back at other people in order to settle scores. Vendetta, revenge, extortion, all of these are some of the very, very common reasons behind filing false cases.
Absolutely. It's a lot of things behind the scene, actually, talking about not only those couples, let's say husband and wife, but at the same time look at the children's life and future generation, right? They don't know, or they don't have any idea how much the damage they are doing though for the next generation. But my concern is that, or the bothering thing is that, let's say even before 10, 20 years or 30 years back, it's a different kind of era, or a different set of mindset that the women had it. But right now, nowadays, people are educated, and they have more understanding, they more knowledge and things like that. Even they are making more money than men. But at the same time, they are still making, or come across these kind of come up with a totally different mentality when it comes to marriage and relationship and everything. Though it's very unfortunate to see that, right? But I just want to take a quick break, and then I just have a quick announcement, a couple of them, and then coming back, I have only 2, 3 questions before I let you go. Okay, is it okay?
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right, thanks. So far, Deepika Narayan Bhardwaj is joining us and sharing her life experiences, talking about men's rights and men's issues in India. We do have a couple of announcements. I have a very, very special announcement. End Homelessness Citywide March, Saturday, May 25th, between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. Here in London, Ontario, Canada. Asking for everyone's support from London across Ontario, connecting us with potential individuals, organizations, businesses, government officials, and more. You guys, you can support us through organized march on the same day, sending a promo video, or of course you can show the promo video and then send it to us, share it on social media platform. You can share our flyer video and anything on your social media. And our regular activities open up is on Sunday evening 7 p.m. Eastern time, but today we have a special guest from different time zones, so that's why we are doing a special show right now. And then Willy is a Tamil live talk show. It is on Sundays at 8 a.m. Eastern time. And then monthly men's group meeting, only for men by men, second Saturday of every month from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Through Zoom, no recordings. And there are no limitations to gender, age, nationality, or ethnic groups. Um, all walks of life can participate in our shows. If you want to be a guest on any of our shows, or willing to be part of our organization and help us directly or indirectly, please reach out to us. We would love to work with individuals, professionals, experts, community organizations, associations, corporations, government officials, and businesses. Phone number is 226-289-8784. Again, phone number is 226-289-8784. Email address is info@voiceofmen360.org, and website address is voiceofmen360.org. And social media links, Facebook, we do have a page and group, Voice of Men 360. Please join our Facebook group so you can see our daily, weekly activities. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Voice of Men 360. We have done over 500 episodes on various topics, so you can watch. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, so this way we can reach out more people. And coming back to Deepika, what I want to ask is, how do you help people? Of course, you mentioned a couple of things, but I just also want to elaborate on that. Go ahead.
So my core Sivam remains to be content because I am an independent journalist. I am a documentary filmmaker. So the core of my work essentially remains to spread awareness. That's what I came to this space for, and that remains to be my most important work. I bring out these stories, tell about them, make individual reports, make documentary films, and put this content out to spread awareness. Uh, Second is we guide and advise people who are in legal disputes, marital or false rape cases. We guide them on what situations or what circumstances they are in and what can they do to actually help themselves legally. So it's a legal, emotional, mixed kind of a counseling because we come with experience of having cases face these situations ourselves. So we can empathize better, and we try and tell people that this is not the end of their life. We help them with resources. We help them with examples of people who have set some precedents to emulate and things like that. So we provide counselings. Apart from that is my interventions in individual cases. Like I said, in cases where I feel that I can use my resources because I've been working for the last 12 years. So now there are people that I know who are either senior police officers who are people in the system. I reach out to them, make a request on the behalf of the person who has been falsely accused or who is facing a problem, and I make a plea for getting them heard. I have also traveled myself along with these people in various parts of India to have their voices heard. If they were not, heard before, then I, accompany them, try to help them that way as well. Uh, Last but not the least, the research part of it. I try and gather data which is particularly related to cases where crime against men has been committed, and we are, in fact, planning. Last year also, we released data of husband suicides and murders in 2022. This year also, we intend to release a comprehensive report on cases of murder and suicide of men. I help out people carry out their researches, because there are a lot of victims that are connected with me. So there have been researchers who have reached out to me, and I reached out to victims further to help them with their researches and get their, sort of samples collected, where these people share what has happened with them. So these are some of the initiatives that I take, Sivam. I do whatever I can. Like I said, there's a guy who is partially disabled. He's handicapped. He was facing a matrimonial battle for 10 years, and he had been thrown behind bars several times for not paying money to his wife. I raised a crowd fund for 5 lakh rupees, 500,000, and give it to him, because so that his wife could leave him to survive and breathe. He did not have money to even buy his medicines, so we helped crowdfund alimony for him, and we paid it to his wife. He, of course, had a child as well, so it's not that we gave in to the threats or gave in to a woman who was playing with the law, but because there was a child as well, so we gave this amount, and so that he could live his life, and he is a happy man today. We I come across these news articles in the newspapers, and I reach out to the families. I've included cases in my documentary films where I just saw these small snippets of news in the newspapers, and I went and met these families, brought their cases out to much larger public. Some of these cases are a part of my documentary film. I have raised crowd funds for an attack survivor who was attacked by a woman because he refused to get married to her, and she attacked him with 5 liters of acid. He did not receive any compensation from the state, so I raised funds for him because he was in dire need of money. We have raised funds for a man who spent 5 years behind bars on false charges of rape. His story came out in the newspaper. I reached out to his advocate, and I asked him if not 5 years, think I think 7 to 10 years, something like that. And his business was gone, his house was gone. The woman who had got him falsely accused of rape was his own wife, and she got a false case registered from her daughter from the previous marriage on this guy, and he was eventually acquitted and found innocent. So when he came out, he did not have anything at all. I saw this news in the newspaper. The very next day, I put it out across my network to try and get to him somehow. And finally, I managed to get his advocate's number. Then I managed to speak to him through another person because he did not even have a phone. So the very same day, we actually I got him a phone. I bought a phone for him so that he could communicate, and then we I got his bank account opened uh, through my relative who was working in the bank, and then we got him a few lakhs in the crowd fund so that he could kickstart his life again. So yeah, I just do whatever I can, Sivam. I mean, there's no just one way of us working, or there's no just I like I said, I've got people arrested by working in tandem with the police officers. So whatever kind of intervention, whatever kind of support that I can provide a person who is needy, I just do that.
Absolutely. Like I said, it's a heavy topic to listen and digest. At the same time, that we see some positive changes or some lights in there, because people like yourself doing a lot of works. If one person can do so many things, of course, it's not. It cannot be done just one person. There are teams or people behind. Then at least somebody has to take the lead and then do it. There's a question, maybe you can answer, and then I can add my comments on that. Should we leave India considering it's not safe for men? See, uh, Sarabajit case, it can randomly happen to any man.
No, I will not ask you to leave India, saying it is unsafe for men, because it is not. Like I said, I just do not believe in generalizations. If
Mhm.
it is not right to say that, at a larger level, India is unsafe for women, it is not right to say that India is unsafe for men either. Every country has its own problems. And like in this interview itself, Sivam in the beginning said that these issues that I shared with him are kind of the same across the world. So it's not that men are not suffering in other countries. They have their own problems, set of problems and issues. But yes, things are definitely tougher for men in India, given the systems that we have and given the gender bias provisions that we have. But instead of leaving India, I would encourage you to be in India and work for the change.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. It doesn't matter which world or which part of the world you're going to go or you want to go. It is there. It is everywhere. Whether we like it or not, it is everywhere. Like I said earlier, some people may take it in a different way, but before that, I would just want to add one thing. Recognize it. One thing that Vitamin 360 or International Men's Day, these platforms never ever. It is not our intention disrespect or lower women's rights or women's issues. But what we are actually discussing, what we want to bring out is that the gap, the gender, especially men's issues, that we haven't spoken for a long time. We didn't have an open discussion, understand or try to understand their problems. That's why we want to bring out. We want to create some kind of awareness about that, what's going on. So, this is some people, even whatever we say, they are not going to believe unless until it happens to them, until it happened to them. So I encourage everybody to rather than escaping from the problem or just leaving behind the problem, just take it or think about how you can contribute or how you can solve that problem. Maybe you may have get an idea or somebody else can give you an idea. You never know. So one last question. I think it's a very important question, Deepika. um, how what can organization like International Men's Day or Voice of Men 360 platform like this, especially men's organization, but I don't want to just limit with the men's organization, but overall any other like-minded organization, what can we do for men's rights? So what's your suggestion or message?
I think my biggest message would be, um, I think that's a ridiculous comment, any which ways. Maybe we can just remove that. So my message to anyone who wants to work on men's issues, or who is working on men's issues, is to explore the possibility of doing this work full time. I think in every country there is need for an organization that actually works at the grassroots level, aiming at addressing men's issues full time. I understand it's not easy. I understand funds remain to be the largest and biggest challenge for organizations that work on men's issues. But I'm very positive that if your work is being seen, consistently, then there are people who would definitely love to support you. I have received love from people. I've received support from people. My projects have received tremendous support from people. Like the I was talking about the crowd fund. People. I just have to put this out somewhere, and we are able to raise money for victims. We are since last 1 year, I have been able to raise money for myself, because my documentary India Sons did not get sold. So we were, financially, I was in extreme situation. I didn't know what to do next, and this is the work that I love doing the most, and I have to do it. So we started raising funds. We started raising contributions from people, and thankfully, people have been kind enough to contribute so that we can sustain ourselves. So, but that obviously is because my work is out there every single day for people to see. People are able to see the initiatives that I take to help people. Go all my way out. I travel to different locations. I travel to help people. I go and meet police officers. I do a lot of groundwork as well, and it's not just online. But even if you're online, that's absolutely fine. Even if you're working to just spread awareness, I mean, that is also absolutely fine. But dedicated efforts are really really required to be put in order to take this movement or take the issue of men are facing at the next level. What I mean to say is there is only so much that volunteering can achieve. There are women have not been able to bring a change by doing this work. Their work or the fight for women's rights has not been a part-time fight. It has been a full-time fight. So for the rights of men to be recognized and the problems be addressed, it will have to be a full-time fight, and not a part-time fight. That's my personal belief. Though I feel a lot of people who volunteer, who work do this part-time, are also a part of the wheel that is working to bring change. But it has to be a full-time work. Second, um, you don't have to essentially wait for somebody to reach out to you. I myself reach out to people. I read these case laws, I read these news articles in the newspaper like any one of us, and I just make small little strides to actually connect with that person. There are thousands of these news stories that come in the newspapers. Pick up maybe just 10 of them, that are from your area, and go full fledged, to give help to this person or this family. You then slowly and steadily build a database of the work that you're doing. You slowly and steadily build the case studies, which you can talk about, which you can tell people about, and which people can count as your very concrete work. So full-time efforts, go all out to help people, take proactive measures to help people. Third, I think, I am not too sure who can do this, but I think there is a dire need at an international level for an organization to actually bring various organizations that are working on men's issues from various countries, probably on the same platform. I think Voice for Men does a great job of organizing international conference on men's issues. There needs to be more conferences like that to bring people together, and have, for example, United Nations has its goals, which its members follow. Maybe we need an international organization to pave the path for us that we can follow, we can see, we can learn from, or even if it is at an level of exchange of information. You know, I personally am not aware. Maybe you could guide me if there is a platform like that, but I don't know of any platform where I can go and I can see this is the work that is happening in this country, this is the work that is happening in this country. So if an effort can like that can also be made, um, it's at at some level can only be a very very constructive online work, to bring people together, exchange of information, learning. But at the end of it, I think the the most important message is what I just said. It has to be a full time work and not part time work. It is not easy, but I think it is need of the hour.
Thank you. There's one question before we close. I think maybe you want to answer it, or is having a good married life just a matter of luck, or if we educate men before marriage, things can be better? I think both. What is your suggestion?
Yeah, I think having a good married life is definitely a matter of luck. A lot of people ask me, what is the formula to not get false cases? What is the formula to have a safe marriage? I am afraid I have not come across any formula that is full fledged. There isn't one, I guess. But to educate men before marriage is a need of the hour for sure. To educate men about the laws that are extremely biased against them is the need of the hour. To educate men on how not to give up on life if they get into matrimonial disputes, or have to face false allegations, is definitely need of the hour. We have to educate. We have to also educate men about the fact that women have changed. We have to educate men about the fact that the old norms of gender do not really work anymore. We have to educate men about being absolutely equal, in their thoughts and actions, and be a partner, and maybe that can also help a lot of situations and things. We have to educate men that on how to deal with these situations emotionally and mentally. And above everything else, we have to educate men about the fact that things can be tough if they do not, or if they just blindly get into a marital relationship without understanding the person that they are getting married to, or doing some kind of research, at least some basic research about the person that they're getting married to. So I think, yeah, we have to educate men.
Absolutely. What I can say, Deepika, or even to the viewers, you know, a couple of things actually. One is, of course, when you are thinking about something like this, and then when you are listening, when you are hearing, even from your friends or relatives or anybody outside, or even reading news, or even listening a one TikTok video or something going on, until you hear the news too close to your loved ones, or even somebody close to you, uh, people don't take any actions. That's a human mentality. But on the other hand, there are people like Dibia and other people. There are people when they listen and then they just want to take action, right? Rather than just leaving behind, or you know what, I don't have a time, or I cannot take it anymore because I'm already having so many troubles and issues. But changing people's mentality is very important. What we are actually trying to do is that we want to break the stigma, the stereotype things, the mindset. Even it doesn't matter with the boys or men, or even parents, or even with the women too, right? The way of parenting, and then the pressure that we are facing nowadays. Um, of course, the people, whoever is really want to do something, you just go and Google it, and then you can see find a lot of organization out there, and then you just connect with them, either with individuals or organizations, and then see how you want to contribute, right? I would say, even if you don't have an extreme experience, when you see something like that, it's going on in the life of others, or in the public, something going on, it's a way of healing. When you gone through it, or when you see something like that, you don't necessarily have to experience that much trauma or situations, but at least by helping them, you can heal somehow, right? That's the way of healing. And also, the public awareness is very, very important though. The my experience, Deepika, when we started this organization, and then when we started our Tamil podcast earlier, and then somebody actually invited me, and then have a just a interview discussion like this, and then most of the people, they were women. And believe me, trust me, in Tamil language, Tamil ethnic group, most of them are women. They were women. They came forward and then spoke about men's issues. Though one thing I understood is that men, they don't want to speak about their issues, own issues, or they think they were judged, so they don't want to really come forward, and then even public figures. Of course, we have a very good number of people. They are coming, and then they are sharing their life journey, and then they are telling this and that, but mostly women. End of the day, whether we like it or not, end of the day, you see who is actually suffered at the house, woman, because if a man made a suicide or is no longer present at the house, woman is the one actually who is suffering though. So I was going to say, when we see false cases, it doesn't matter which side. If you see the boy side, mostly women as either a sister or mother or friend or somebody on the female, they are the one actually get more and more traumatized, right? So that's another thing. And of course, like I said earlier, please take at least whatever you see here, even just a one line or one message, one word, or the whole story. If you can take it seriously, and then if you want to do something, you talk to somebody and then do something about it, rather than just, this is another one of those shows. No, just do something else. It can be sharing, or it can be talk to somebody, or reach out to Deepika and then see, just ask her, how can I help you? Right? You never know until you ask that person what's going on their other world. We have so many stories here, even young boys, so many domestic violence and here and there. It's around the world. So it is not just in one part of the world, but it's all over. So whatever we can do through our platforms, even just your own YouTube channel, or just a one small YouTube video or something like that, right? Deepika, thank you is not enough, but you are doing amazing work. Our gratitude, our support, our wishes always there. And please continue your effort and works. And like us, we are trying to develop a international men's mental wellness team to support, help our men around the world. We are working to develop a team in each country. At least they can get some kind of support. The first responders can address, and then they can guide our men and boys, though, because the fact is, the statistics is 19 to 25 age men are the most vulnerable, and then they are the one on the suicide high rate everywhere, especially in Asian countries, though. So what is telling is we are losing the next generation, though. So if you born here in this world, in this if you come to this universe, you have something to do. You have a purpose in your life. So please take it seriously. And then out of 2.2 million sperm and then lives, you are the one here to do something. So please take it seriously. And I would encourage everyone to watch those videos, and then contact her if you want, and then ask her how you can help. Thank you, Deepika, for joining and
Thank you. Thank you,
journey.
Sivam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. So far, it is a heavy topic, everybody. We can understand. We want to continue creating awareness about men's and boys' issues. At the same time, we want your support in order to take to the next level, which is reaching out to your friends or sharing this information with them, so they can get to know, they have the resources, or they will have some information, they can understand, they can open their eyes, and they can understand. All right, thanks a lot, and then see you next time. Thank you, everyone.